Are you ready to learn the secrets to unlocking the maintenance of your AccuQuilt system tools? On today's episode, I'm going to go over how to properly maintain your machines, your dies, and your mat so that you can quilt with precision and ease for years to come. Hi, my name is Tammy. I'm a human being and I created Quilty Chats because quilters always have something to say. Number one, let's talk about the warranty that you receive when you purchase the AccuQuilt products. When you purchase the machines and the dies, you get a 1 year warranty, and that's a limited warranty. It's limited because if you break it, they don't replace it. They will cover manufacturer defects up until the first year. When you purchase any of their machines, you receive a card in the packaging that allows you to sign up for a free 6-month extended warranty service. I haven't done that. Shame on me, I know. But you should definitely do as I say, not as I do. And when you purchase your machines, go ahead and sign up for that extended warranty. So you have 18 months worth of warranty to cover your Go Me, your Go, and your Go Big cutters. Oh, and also the studio die. After the 6 months free extended warranty is over, you can purchase an additional 2 years of extended warranty for the price of $40 if you buy the Go and the Go Me, and it's $60 if you buy the AccuQuilt Big and or the Studio Die. Number two, let's talk about maintenance of your machines. When you buy the AccuQuilt Go Me, it does not come with a cover, so you would be responsible for providing some sort of cover yourself to keep the dust off of it. I do not own the Go, so I'm not sure what that one comes with, but I do own the AccuQuilt Go Big Electric, and that one comes with a cloth dust cover that AccuQuilt recommends that you store your cutter in when it's not in use. If your machine accumulates dust on the exterior, the best way to clean that is to use a microfiber cloth or a larger size cloth that you would clean your lenses or your computer screen with. You just wipe off the dust and it's pretty simple. It should remove it. It is not recommended that you use any type of moistened wipes like the Lysol wipes or anything like that on your machine. As far as maintenance of your rollers, what you'll do is you'll buy the canned air and you can just spray down the rollers just to remove any lint or dust that accumulates in the roller area of the machines. Again, it's not recommended that you use spray cleaners, do not use roller, or do not use any type of liquid in that roller area or any area on the machine for that matter. Number three, let's talk about how you store your dies. It's recommended that you store your dies like they're like they're books sitting on the bookcase. You want to store them upright. Do not stack your dies on top of each other because what that'll do over time is it will weaken the foam or flatten out the foam, and then your blade becomes exposed. And once the blade is exposed, it could either dull the blade, which will give you inaccurate cuts, and or it can bend the blades, which will give you inaccurate cuts. Number four, let's talk about die maintenance. The dies are, I would say, the messier part of the AccuQuilt system because that's the area where the loose threads and or debris accumulates in the process of cutting. So very simply, AccuQuilt does sell, I call it a pick tool on the website, but you can use one of those dental picks and or you can use tweezers. And what you'll do with these tools is that you would run the dental pick or the tweezers along the edge of the blade between the foam, and then you just sort of lift out the debris. Once you release the debris from being captured between the blades and the foam, you then use a lint roller, and that's how you can completely remove all thread, all debris from your dies. The blades in your dies do not need to be sharpened. The reason is they are designed for thousands and thousands of cuts. So as long as you store your dies upright, like books on the bookshelf, then you should have no worries about your blades becoming dull. Let's talk about cutting messy fabrics. Um, for example, if you cut flannel, if you cut minky, if you cut cuddle, those materials are notorious for creating length all over the place, not just in your dies, but in your cutting area as well. So if you're going to be using those materials, definitely make sure that you have a lint roller handy. That removes about 80 to 90% of the lint or the debris. And then again, if you need to use the pick or the tweezers to free up debris, go ahead and do that as well. As far as my experience is concerned, I rarely have to pick out debris from my dies. The only time I need, not the only time, but the main time I need to pick debris from my dies is when I use either minky, flannel, or cuddle. Minky and cuddle are essentially the same fibers. It's just one is trademarked by one company and one is trademarked by another company. But when I use those materials, that's what gums up my dies, and then I have to take time to clean them. The other category of dyes that accumulate more debris and thread compared to the other dyes are the rag dyes. The rag dyes, for those of you who are familiar with rag quilts, it automatically cuts the little fringe at the end of the piece. So, for that reason, there are a lot of blades in those dyes. And the amount of blades, for some reason, and typically when you're doing a rag quilt, you're most likely using a flannel. The rag quilt dye coupled with flannel or minky or cuddle makes a hot mess, and they require you to put more effort into cleaning and maintaining them. Let's talk about the mats. The mats by far are the part of the system that accumulates the most wear and tear. The mats are made of a self healing material, but over time, the cuts from the blades leave marks and scars in the mats. The mats can accumulate little fibers. Eventually, if you use it enough, it actually can cut through or a portion of the mat. So, on occasion, I take a lint roller and I will roll the front and the back of my mat for the same reasons that I use the lint roller on my dies to remove those extra fibers so those fibers don't embed themselves into the mat. The other trick I do is on one side, I place painter's tape, and with each cut or each run through the cutter, I try to remember to rotate that mat front to back and left to right, if that makes sense. So you're going to flip this way and then flip this way. So what that does is it just creates like an even wear on your mat. You know how when you are driving, you have four tires, and every so often you're supposed to have your tires rotated. And the purpose for rotating those tires is to extend the life of the tire and distribute the wear. That's the same concept for the mat. So you want to make sure that you do that. If you begin to notice that your cuts are not accurate, they're not sharp, you're noticing that you're having increasingly more strings that are left over after the cut, first of all, make sure that you're being honest with yourself and you're only cutting the recommended layers per sandwich going through the machine. For example, with the AccuQuilt GoBig, Go Me, and Go cutters, you can use a maximum of 6 layers of quilting cotton. And then if it's layers of quilting cotton that has fusible on the backing, I think it's only 4 layers, but just check the website and make sure that you are only using the amount of layers per cut. The studio die, that's a whole nother system, and I think that one can go up to like 10 layers. After you've ensured that you're following the recommendations by AccuQuilt by putting the maximum amount of layers on the die, if you're still receiving wonky cuts, maybe it's your mat. You may be using one side and you're not rotating it, And I noticed that when my mats start to get like little warps, not a major warp, but just a little indentation, if I'm not flipping it, that indentation creates like a divot or a hump, and my fabrics don't cut properly. Another recommendation that I have is when you're using the rag dye, if you can, use a mat that is dedicated for that dye. As I stated earlier, the rag dye has a lot of blades and it's hard on your mat. And so, even with flipping back and forth and left to right, the rag dye will wear out your mat more. So, if I remember it, what I typically do is I'll use the rag dye with a specific mat for a certain amount of time. And then I will use that same mat on a regular dye to sort of distribute the wear and tear of the mat. I am like you. I want to get the biggest bang for my buck. I mean, I made a significant investment in this AccuQuilt cutting system. And one way I do that is I know you're not supposed to, but I push my mats to the limit when I use my GoBig. When I say the limit, I mean I push those mats until they warp. I push those mats until they jam up the machine. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do it anyway. Once it starts to cause the machine to jam, then I completely get rid of the mat and I start using a new one. Let's talk about dye issues. To be honest, I think, maybe 3 of my dyes where the foam is lifting on the corners. It's not a significant enough lift to prevent the dye from cutting or functioning properly, but for me, it's more aesthetic. So if you find that the foam is lifting off the dye and you want to fix that, no need to panic, no need to call AccuQuilt. All you have to do is take some white Elmer's glue, apply the glue to the plastic or the bed of that dye, push the foam back down, and you know how you just kind of squeeze it and hold it. In this situation, it is okay to stack a die or two or something heavy on top of that foam. You want to leave that heavy set of dies on that foam for approximately 24 hours. That gives the Elmer's glue enough time to dry. Once that's done, then you remove those dies, and then you continue stacking your dies upright like books on a bookshelf. I want to talk to you about the lights that can be displayed on the Go Big machine. There's a blue light, and then there are some flashing green lights. In my experience, I have gotten the blue light before, and typically when the blue light comes on, it's because there's too much static that has accumulated in the machine in the roller area. And therefore, all you have to do is turn off the Go Big, let it sit off for like, I don't know, 30 seconds, and then turn it back on. And that will release the static from the machines, from the roller area. And then the machine will cut perfectly. There are some other combination of green lights that can come on according to the manual, but I haven't experienced those, so I don't know what they mean by heart. I just know that the blue one is typically static. The way to solve it is to turn the machine off, wait a few seconds, and turn it back on. I really enjoy using the AccuQuilt cutting system. I made a significant investment in this system, and I do my best to make sure that my dies, my mat, and my machine are properly maintained because I expect to have many more years of joy and pleasure using this system. What do you think? What's been your experience? Comment down below and share with me. I would love to hear it.